Hello and welcome guys to another video. Now in this video we'll be discussing about my personal favorite committee, Lok Sabha. Now a lot of you have been demanding that I make a video specifically on Lok Sabha, its rules of procedure and how to go about it. Now firstly, before I start, I would like to disintegrate the whole Lok Sabha into two things. First, the committee structures, rules of procedure and a general background on how to research for Lok Sabha. And secondly, I'll make a separate video which will solely be based on bills and constituency or portfolio specific research. So basically we'll be focusing on rules of procedure in this video, and we'll be focusing on general agendas and general research, not in-depth specific research for Lok Sabha. Now, Lok Sabha is my personal favorite, the one committee which I prefer the most. And being the lower house of the Indian Parliament, it has way more powers than Rajya Sabha. And when it comes to India, Lok Sabha is the one committee which makes national laws. So when you think about it in this way, in UN committees you go, you participate, but in Lok Sabha you get the first-hand experience of real lawmaking. It makes domestic policies, or it frames laws which affects people on a daily basis. It passes budgets, it tackles issues with Indian economy, etc., which directly have an effect on the Indian populace. So basically, when you're participating in Lok Sabha, keep this in mind, that the simple difference between United Nations committees and Lok Sabha is that the Lok Sabha is at a very ground level. It works on the grassroots level, and its implementation, its policies are way more detailed and in-depth, for the basic reason that in Lok Sabha everything which is passed becomes a law and is implemented through a gazetted notification, and it has mass level effects on the whole Indian populace. Right. With this being said, let's start with the rules of procedure first. Now, the sitting of the parliamentary members: on the right side of the chairperson or the executive board generally sits the government, and on the left side the opposition. Now, when it comes to rules of procedure, the order in which the rules of procedure are followed varies from executive board to executive board. So now if you're participating in XYZ MUN, and so its executive board members may alter the rules of procedure a bit, or they may not. Conventionally they shouldn't be, but what they will definitely, or they can alter, is the item of the agenda list. Now the first thing which is very important on the agenda list is the statements from the member of the house, followed by short period discussions, followed by question hours, 0 hour, and then the introduction of the bills. This can be done in random orders, although the statements always are the first thing which takes place in Lok Sabha, followed by short period discussions, maybe question hours, or maybe 0 hour. These three can be altered, and these three can be mixed and jumbled up. That depends on the executive board entirely. So let's start with statements from the member of the house. Now, you're in the Lok Sabha, you have been allotted constituencies. So what are the statements of the house? Suppose the agenda is section 377, discussion on section 377. Obviously section 377 has been struck down by the Supreme Court. So now Lok Sabha discussing that won't make sense, but let's just say that section 377 still exists and the Lok Sabha is discussing on its effects. So the first thing which Lok Sabha will do is that it will take statements from the member of the houses, and that is like a general speakers list. The only difference is that the general speakers list is non-exhaustive, it just doesn't end. But in Lok Sabha, only 8 members make the statements at the beginning of the committee. The first member is conventionally the leader of the house, that is the Prime Minister, and the last member is the leader of the opposition. Right now, like in this Lok Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge. So apart from these 2 members, the other 6 are divided into 3, like 3 from government and 3 from opposition, and are randomly selected by the executive board. Right. Now when the first 2 speakers have spoken in the general speakers list, what happens is the executive board starts taking in agendas for short period discussions. Now what are short period discussions? Short period discussions are basically like moderated caucuses, except for the fact that moderated caucuses are raised through a placard show, and they are directly kept on the floor of the house. Here what you do is you write the agenda on a chit, you write to executive board, you write the time for which you want to discuss. It shouldn't exceed 1 hour, by the way, 1 hour, because then it becomes 1 hour discussion and any discussion above 1 hour is not allowed. And then the executive board puts it to vote after the statements of the are taken from the house members. Now there's one trick, one thing actually. What happens with short period discussions is that you can send in chits only while the statements are in process. After the statements are over and short period discussions have been voted in and started, you cannot keep sending chits saying that you want to discuss this, you want to discuss that now. That's one limit Lok Sabha has. If you want to send in chits, you send in during the statements after the first two speakers have spoken, or else you can't. So the thing is, you need to prepare for it, and you need to be prepared for short period discussions. After short period discussions or 1 hour discussions, as you may say it, that as it says the time limit is 1 hour. After that comes the question hour. Question hour is basically where opposition members or general members of the parliament ask questions to the ministers, right? Now I'll suggest just read upon the prime minister and the ministry cabinet and council of ministers to clear your confusion about who are the ministers and who you can ask questions. So what happens is you write down questions in two categories, starred and unstarred, and you send it to the executive board while the short period discussions are in order. After that, what happens is they segregate the questions into starred and unstarred, and they send it to each person whose the question is asked. The person is given a bit of time and then he answers your question. That being said, starred questions require a verbal reply, and unstarred questions don't, like, yeah, they require a written reply instead of a verbal reply. So basically start questions have an immediate impact, and unstart questions are just questions. It's not like, you know, they don't have impact or anything. They are very important and crucial to the Lok Sabha. So there's a limit. Generally the executive board places a limit on the number of start questions you can ask to one MP or one sitting parliamentarian. For example, if I'm Rahul Gandhi, I cannot ask hundreds of start questions to Narendra Modi because, well, technically that will take a lot of time. What I can do is that, suppose the executive board tells me that I can ask 3 start questions to every member of parliament and infinite number of unstart questions. So I'll ask 3 start questions to Narendra Modi and I'll send in all other questions as unstart questions. Alright. Now, yeah, the point of information or the right to ask questions is only limited to while the statements are in progress. Otherwise you cannot raise the point of information. Now moving forward, we have the 0 hour. What happens in 0 hour is basically members can randomly get up and ask questions to the ministers. It's more of a, like, you know, public important speech. For example, if I am a minister representing Sangrur constituency and I get up, I'm recognized by the executive board on discretion of the executive board, and I can get up and I can ask questions. I can actually speak. Suppose I am representing Sangrur, then I speak on drug crisis in Punjab. So I can direct the question to a minister, give a short speech, explain the problems, and ask the question about what the government is doing. Now, it is not forced on the minister to reply back to me. They can reply to me or they may not. It's upon them, it's their discretion. But at the same time, ministers are generally required to answer. Now this is basically the rules of procedure. Not going in very depth, I'll deal with the bills, etc. and in-depth portfolio research in my following videos. Further, what happens is that, you know, when it comes to general research of the committee. Now basically Lok Sabha में 3 टाइप के agendas होते हैं, social, economic और संवैधानिक, that is constitutional. Now social and economic agendas generally need a more in-depth research. You know, you need to analyze stuff, you need to find resources, you need to search for resources. But basically संवैधानिक एजेंडाज में उतना मेहनत नहीं करना पड़ता है, क्योंकि संविधान के प्रावधान मौजूद होते हैं और संविधान के प्रावधानों का विश्लेषण भी कई बार किया जा चुका होता है. क्या होता है, like supposingly if you have constitutional agenda, then there are already constituent and assembly debates, there are constitutional interpretations and constitutional notations and constitutional debates all around, and that has been happening right from 1950 when the constitution came into force. So constitutional agendas are particularly very easy because संविधान को बनाते वक्त हमारे नेतागणों ने बहुत इबादत और जुनून से संविधान पे चर्चा की और संविधान को बनाया था, तो कई सारे रिसोर्सेज प्रेजेंट होते हैं आपके पास, तो संवैधानिक एजेंडाज पे डिबेट करना बहुत आसान होता है उस रूप से देखा जाए तो। मगर साथ ही साथ अगर आप ध्यान से यह सोचें कि बाकी एजेंडाज का क्या किया जाए, तो इकोनॉमिक और सोशल एजेंडाज के लिए आप एक अप्रोच रखें। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू हैव एन एजेंडा विच इज़ based on Indian economy, then you can keep an approach like that. You can have a political, economic, social, environmental and legal approach towards the agenda. So basically you have to divide the agenda and look at from these different perspectives, whether economic or social. But when it comes to constitutional agendas, it's a bit easier to debate on it. It's a bit easier to understand the agenda. This being said, this is basically what the research is. Now comes the primary part of bills and in-depth constituency research. I'll be doing that in my further videos. Now, before I end this video, I would like to request you all to subscribe, like and share the video. If you like it, do comment and let me know in the comment section what you would like to listen to me or make videos about in future. Now, many of you have been posting questions on the comments. I'm really sorry I couldn't reply to all of you all because I was busy for a while. I'll try to be as responsive I can and get back to you. So please ask questions and yep, I'll be responding. With this being said, thank you. Keep watching.